right. Good morning.
Good
We are
morning.
live. Good to chat with you today. And we've got Samuel Adeyinka. And I don't have a good intro for you today, I just realized. So, I do these. So everyone knows who watches these. I am casual, okay? And my guests know I'm casual. I don't do a whole formal thing.
Right.
And so I'll tell you a little bit about who I am. Samuel can tell you a little bit about who he is. And then we'll get started. So I'm Stacey Gordon. Welcome again. Good morning. I appreciate those of you who have been, you know, coming and joining each week. It's always good to see you. And hi, Mike. Hi, I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see Mike. Um, and so we actually used to work together in diversity, gosh, years ago at Union Bank. Um, so I would like to introduce myself, and that's why, again, I said it's Stacey Gordon. We're very casual here, but I am the Chief Diversity Strategist at Rework Work, and Rework Work basically reworks what doesn't work about work, and that's our job. We spend a lot of time working with organizations that are looking to move from awareness to advocacy, and that is really the framework that we use to help organizations. A lot of them come in the middle, they want to start at the end, and I'm like, no, we got to go all the way back to the beginning. So that's what we do. Samuel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Thank you for having me again, Stacy. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Samuel, and I'm founder of Evolve Your Success. So that's a training and coaching development company, and we focus a lot on the medical sales industry. So we have sales training, executive coaching, and also helping people find positions in medical sales roles. And in fact, that's one of our primary pushes this year is our program that gets people into medical sales roles called the Medical Sales Career Builder. And a little
Awesome.
extra, I also have a podcast called the Medical Sales Podcast, where anyone can learn from all types of executives, from CEOs all the way down to the sales reps, what it's like to be in the various fields of the medical sales industry.
Awesome. And so we're chatting today because even though Samuel is talking sort of medical sales, right? And we'll have a conversation about that too, because when you say medical sales, in my mind, I thought pharmaceutical sales. And I was like, wait, pharmaceutical sales is different than medical sales. But in general, right, what we're seeing is people are making big changes into different types of careers. And so for those of you who know me from when I still do some coaching, but I would do a lot of coaching for individuals who want to change careers. So I actually have a career change course, and we'll put the link up for that at some point in today's live. And if not, we definitely have it. You can always find it on my LinkedIn page. If you're not following me, I'm assuming that you are. If you're here today, that you are a follower, but if not, follow me, connect with me. I accept everyone as connections. And we're going to talk about that too in terms of networking into jobs, right? So career change is a big thing. We find that people will wait until they've had some time in a career, in a few jobs, and they realize, wow, this is not what I want to do, right? This is not what I want to be doing. And people just are not in a place like we spend more time planning our vacations than we do
Yeah,
planning our careers.
right.
Now, I don't know if that's actually a true stat, but I spent many, many years saying it, and I'm going to stick to
I believe it. I support it
it.
100%. I see the same thing.
Right. So I think that when and we look at how careers relate to diversity. That's the other thing, is because yes, I'm a huge proponent of diversity and inclusion, and the reason I got into diversity and inclusion was because of careers, right? The way that individuals were being treated in the workplace and especially in the recruitment process. So if you have ever gone through a recruitment process, if you're listening now and you've gone through a recruitment process with a company that you absolutely loved, please put the name of that company in the chat because they need some love. Because everyone that I talk to hates it. They hate the interview process, they hate job searching, they just hate everything about having to find a job. And it's even worse when you're trying to make a career change, right? Because you go from one career to another, and a company will say, oh, but Samuel, you have never done this before, so I can't hire you for this job, right? Like, are you seeing that?
You know what? I'm seeing that 100%. To your point, that's that's part of what we do in our program. We try to get people to make the experience of getting into a position, for lack of a better phrase, a fun experience. I think when you get crystal clear on who you are, the value you bring, and why your personal culture aligns with the culture of the company you want to work for, it turns into a different type of thing, and it becomes a little less stressful, and it becomes more of a adventure to get a position.
Yeah. And so what I realized, and we see over and over again, is individuals who want to be able to get into roles. Like right now, there's a big thing. We need to hire for diversity, right?
Sure.
Everyone thinks we need to increase the diversity of their workforce. So, first of all, what does that mean to you? When you say increase diversity of workforce, do you mean you need to increase gender representation?
Right.
Are you looking specifically to hire Black men, Asians,
Right.
people with
Right.
a disability? Like, what does that look like?
Right.
And when you start kind of nitpicking and trying to figure that out, it makes it harder for you to do, right? So, what we have to look at is we need really diversity when it comes to careers. We first have to let go of some of these ridiculous rules and requirements that we have in place. And yes, I call them ridiculous because I use the example of chief diversity officers right now, right? Everyone wants to hire a chief diversity officer, VP of diversity and inclusion. I'm seeing post after post after post of people who've accepted a job in what is probably one of the most hellish positions you could take in a company. And they've accepted these jobs, but have not really, looked at what does it take to do this job. And the companies that are trying to hire, what are they doing right now? They're looking for somebody with 15 years of experience in diversity and inclusion.
Right.
We didn't have
Right.
chief diversity officers
Right.
15 years ago. Barely. Like there might have been a few companies, but who was hiring for chief diversity officers 15, 20 years ago that
Right.
today you can say you need somebody with 15 years of experience?
Right.
Right?
No,
We have
it's
to
real.
look at those requirements. How do you expect to increase diversity when the requirements that you have make no sense?
No, it's true.
So,
It's true.
yeah. And so in the medical sales industry, so first of all, I want to just explain for us, everyone, for medical sales, because again, like I said, when I heard medical
Right.
sales, I thought pharmaceutical sales, 'cause
Right.
that's all I ever really knew about. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Right. So there's two schools of thought on this. So, you know, if you just think about the word itself, medical, or the phrase itself, medical sales, it is any type of sales in healthcare. It's medical device sales, it's pharmaceutical sales, it's molecular sales, genetic sales, diagnostic lab sales. I mean, there's so many types of sales within medical sales. When people hear it often, though, they automatically assume you're talking about medical device sales, but it's bigger than that. So, when I use it, I'm talking about everything healthcare sales, and that's what I term medical sales.
Gotcha. And so I met Samuel through the National Sales Network, which is an organization built to help and promote Black individuals, professionals in sales, right? And so for many years, back when I used to work at Prudential, I was a card carrying member of the National Sales Network. And many individuals now who are recruiters don't even know that the National Sales Network exists.
Yes.
So this is the reason I wanted to have this conversation today, is because one, I want to be able to say, look, there are a lot of different types of roles out there, some of which we have no clue exist. And two, there are a lot of people in these roles, but recruiters don't know how to find them because they don't know the different organizations and associations that are out there that are providing support to individuals in these positions. So
Right.
if you're in sales and you're a recruiter and you don't know about the National Sales Network, you probably should go look them up
Yes,
because
that is a
that's
good
an
point.
organization that is huge, right?
And you know what? I would also put the onus on candidates too. Yes, recruiters definitely should go to NSN. NSN is great, and it's not just for Black. It's really, NSN promotes diversity. It really promotes diversity. That's what NSN is really about. But with that being said, the candidates need to understand that right now with the COVID environment, you have a golden opportunity to really put your personal brand out there using social media, because everyone has been forced to get on social media. So if you're someone that's looking for a position, take the time to understand what your profile should look like, what your LinkedIn profile should look like, what should be on there, what you should be highlighting, so that these recruiters can find you easily. Hiring managers, when you make yourself when you get yourself seen by them, know exactly what kind of value you can bring, and this will just change the game and make things a lot easier for you as a candidate.
Gotcha. Now, so Mike said Citizens Bank was surprisingly easy and good communication during the entire recruitment process. Okay, so if you're financial services, banking, you might want to check out Citizens Bank. Um, I think the other thing, to your point, Sherry mentioned that it's about showcasing transferable skills, right?
Yeah.
And so for the recruiters that are listening, and it's not just the recruiters, because I will say a lot of times it's the hiring managers. The recruiters will get it, and they'll say, look, here are these great candidates, but the hiring manager is the one whose bias will pop up.
Yep.
And we'll say, well, no, that's not quite who we want. They're not going to fit in. This isn't quite what we're looking for. And so what happens is the recruiters get trained to not waste their time, right? Like most people don't like to waste their time. So a good recruiter is going to want to bring diverse candidates, but they also know, what's the point of bringing diverse candidates if the hiring manager that I'm bringing them to is going to ignore them?
Right.
Because now I'm doing work for no reason.
Right.
So this is what happens and why it perpetuates itself, and why when we go into companies and we start talking to companies who say, oh, we don't have enough diversity because our recruiters aren't bringing us enough diversity, I'm usually like, I'm pretty sure that's not the reason. Pretty sure.
Very true.
Like if I were to talk to some recruiters, I'm gonna find out a whole different story.
Right.
And sometimes it is the recruiter, right? A little bit of that. The recruiters don't always know. Like I said, we have resources. There are so many associations out there. I actually found out, I can't even remember the name of it now, but it was the most specific association I have ever heard of in my life. And I was like, what in there's an association for this? Like, there is an association for everything out there. You just have to Google and search and find it. And so, I'm always telling recruiters, and I get on y'all because I used to be a recruiter. So I say this out of love, but if you are a recruiter who is sitting around waiting for candidates to come to you, you are a waiter and not a recruiter. Right. So recruiting is active. It means you have to go search, you have to go find, you have to go source, you have to, bring people into the organization.
Right. And recruiters can take advantage of this time as well. I mean, I think, like I said, because everyone is forced online right now during this time, recruiters can really explode as far as who they're trying to find, really get themselves out there, be active with posting, with commenting, with liking, connect with other people that are connected to the industry and helping, and really make themselves, give themselves a presence.
Well, and you just said the magic word, connect. So I have a huge pet peeve about connecting on LinkedIn, because I find that, I've been talking to different individuals about who they connect with on LinkedIn. And they'll say, well, I only connect with people who are in my industry or who share the passion that I have. And I've heard somebody tell me, I only connect with people who I know. Okay, well, why are you on LinkedIn? Like, this isn't a place, this isn't a Rolodex, right? Like,
so actually, let me ask you a question, Stacey. when people connect with you, do you like it when you see a personalized message to connect, or do you automatically register that in your brain as spam?
I absolutely do not register it as spam. So I will say, in all fairness, I did write an article a few years ago telling people that they needed to put a message, right, into their connection request. Sure. And now back then it was harder to do. I think LinkedIn has finally figured out an algorithm that makes it easier, because I think on your phone, if you have the what is that called, the app or whatever, it will not necessarily allow you to put in a note. So that's something to think about, right? We're over here going, oh, you're connecting and can't even be bothered to give me a note. It's like, well, I can't do it. I'm doing it from my phone. Most people use their phone now. It's like 60 to 70% of people are using their phones to find jobs. So if it doesn't have that feature, right? And I'm not saying it doesn't right now. I'm just saying it didn't previously. It might have updated. Then that's part of the issue. So that goes to, again, bias, right? Like, we automatically have this bias in our head about how people should come and should reach out to us. And if they don't meet that exact way, that structure that we have put in place, then we're like, oh, nope, not you. Nope,
Right.
can't talk to you. Nope, don't
Right.
want to hear
Right.
from you.
Right.
Right? When we have to realize that there are other reasons at play. There are other things happening. So, yes, is it great to put in a message? Sure. Especially if you're trying to be specific. So let me say this. If you are looking for a job, put in a message, right? Be specific. Tell people what you want.
Sure.
Make it easy for people. I always say, make me be able to do an easy yes,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Make it
Yeah.
very specific, make it short, make it precise, and make it something I can do, right?
Right. Right.
Then I'm all for it. So don't send me a message that says, oh, I'd love to connect with you. I really love what you're doing in diversity and inclusion. Do you have any resources that you can send me? Because I'd love to get into DEI.
Right. Be more specific. Send a
So you
targeted
want
message.
me, right? So, like, okay, wait. So you want me to compile resources for you and send them to you
You're
because you're
giving me work.
interested in potentially getting into diversity and
Right.
inclusion. Why would I
Right.
do that?
Right.
And
And you
even
know
if
what?
I don't have time.
And I want to add to that for all the people out there that are listening that want to get positions. When you find a recruiter, or when you find someone that works in the space of placement or helping you get an opportunity, don't just send them your resume and say, "Hey, will you please look at this?" Send a
Please
message
don't.
saying what you're trying to do, who you are, and show some interest. Take the time to look at the person you're connecting with's profile. Cite something that's interesting on their profile that you might have in common with them, but approach them as someone that you'd meet at a networking event, right? If you met a networking event, you wouldn't just walk up to someone and say, "Hey, here's my resume. Can you look at this and let me know what you think?" You would say, "Hi, my name is so and so. I heard about you doing so and so," and you'd actually show that you have interest in the other person. So that's
Right.
just something I want to make sure your
For
audience
sure.
hears.
And because it's about having interest, but it's also, like I said, about being specific. So
Right,
you'd say, hi, Samuel, I see that you work at XYZ company, and
right.
I'm really interested in getting connected to Stacey, who it works in the, marketing department. And I'm hoping that you would be able to send my resume to Stacey because
Hmm.
I meet the requirements for the job she has posted,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now you know exactly who I'm trying to reach, why I want to get there, and what you need to do. And you can either say yes or no, right?
Hmm.
Or if you want to get an introduction to somebody, don't just say, can you introduce me to Samuel? Say, I would really like to be introduced to Samuel. Can you let him know X about me? And give me 2 or 3 sentences
Yeah, cite
about
cite
you, right?
cite some of the value you bring.
Right.
Don't just ask someone to do you a favor that doesn't know you. You need to, approach someone, let them know who you are and why there's any interest for them to want to move the ball forward. Cite your value and don't be long-winded about it. Like Stacey said, cite a point or two about the value, why it's even something sensible that they should do.
Right. Oh, and once you do that, like I said, I get connected to people I don't know all the time, and they're like, "Can you connect me to this other person?" And I always say, "I don't know that other person, but
Right,
I have no problem connecting you if you send me
right,
something that
right,
makes it make sense." Because
right,
I don't know you, I don't know them, and I'm not going to spend the time to
right,
make that connection without you giving me something. Because then the other person's going to say, "Well, you're a stranger. Why are you sending me
right,
this?"
right,
Right?
exactly,
But back
exactly.
to my main point about LinkedIn is that you should be on LinkedIn for this reason, to be able to connect with people. The
Hmm.
broader your network is, the more people you're going to have access to,
Hmm.
right? If you are only connecting with people that you know, then stay off of LinkedIn and just use the phone contact list on your phone, because LinkedIn is useless to you, right? Like, the whole purpose of connecting on LinkedIn is to broaden that network and meet other people, because as you keep expanding, you know what happens? You start seeing things from other, because we get into these bubbles. Like, Facebook gets a bad rap, right, for
Hmm.
being in a bubble, but all the social medias are like that, all of
Right,
them.
right.
And LinkedIn's the same way. If you're only connecting with a small group of people, you're going to keep seeing the same kind of news, the same kind of stories, the same
Sure,
kind of articles over and over
sure.
again. But if
Yeah.
you expand, right, like, now I'm seeing things, people are sending me stuff in Spanish, Portuguese. I'm like, wait, what? But it's because
Wow.
my network is opening up,
Right,
and
right.
people from other countries and other languages send me messages. You know what I do? I go to Google Translate, I drop their message into Google Translate to see what it said. I draft a message, and then I send it back in their language.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I love it.
So I think it's really important for us to do that. Like I want that's a huge reason that we're on LinkedIn is if you especially if you're looking for a job. And
Yep.
so going back to sales, right? Like if you're trying to get a position within a specific company, you've got to look at first of all, do you want to work there?
Right.
So this is
And you know
where
what? That couldn't be more emphasized. People really do your homework, understand the company. Any company you think you want to work for, take the time to understand the company and take the time to even get in contact with people that are working for the company and have some conversations.
yeah, it's just finding that out. So like going back to the earlier point about not taking the time, planning spending more time planning your vacation than you do your career. You spend a lot of time looking at um, where am I going to go? What are my top 5 destinations? What does it look like in each place? How far does my dollar go if I decide to go there? Which airlines can I go on? Can I afford a first class flight? Which hotel? Should I do a 3-star or a 4-star? How close is it to the beach? Like, right? I mean, these are all the things that you
Right.
spend hours and hours and hours poring over. You
Right.
got to put that same um, amount of work into your job. So
Yes.
your job search, if you want to get a job, and most of us spend, granted, it's not like back in the day we would spend 10, 15 years in our job, but we're spending a good 2, 3 years in our jobs.
Hopefully longer, but yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the rates, right, of change, company turnover, it's pretty high right now. People are job
Right.
hopping quite a bit, but that's also partly to do with the company, right? Because the
Right.
company isn't necessarily doing their part to keep the employee, the retention, right? So that's where
Right.
we talk about the inclusion, the belonging, etc. Um, so the interesting thing I think about your course you were saying is that you actually put people through an assessment. So what are some of the questions that you ask in that
Yeah.
assessment?
So actually so before you even get into the course, you can take an assessment. If you're interested in wanting to get into the medical sales industry, there's an assessment that I provide that you can take. And this assessment really evaluates where you believe you are with what I call the big three. And the big three for anyone that wants to get a position, especially in medical sales, is what's your personal brand? Where's your interview skill level? And how are you developing and utilizing your network? And those are the big three. That's where we focus on in the program. And then, of course, in the program, there's a number of assessments as you develop those skills. But to your question, Stacey, that's the assessment that I give when anyone's interested. Is it helps people evaluate where they are with their personal branding, where they are with their interview skills, and where they are with developing their network.
Awesome, awesome.
Mhm.
So I think we've covered the network quite a bit in terms of LinkedIn.
Sure.
Um, and the interviewing is a big one. I actually wrote an interview guide years ago when I was
Sure.
recruiting because
Yeah.
I was like, you guys need some help.
I mean, it's so huge. We take that so seriously. In our program, we have mock interviews with actual medical device hiring managers and pharmaceutical hiring managers and all kinds of medical sales hiring managers and healthcare recruiters because people need to understand how to communicate their value. There's nothing more frustrated when I meet a well qualified person that stumbles in communicating the value they could bring and how they'd be such an asset to a company. And then if it's someone that's new to the industry, some of them have a little bit of nerves. And so their personality is not even being seen. And those kind of things, they come with practice. You got to practice those skill sets to get really good at being succinct in your messaging when you're talking to someone that could potentially give you an opportunity.
So true, so true. A tip that I would give people is okay. So I know everyone's got a Zoom account at this point, right? Like you have a Zoom account. You must have a Zoom account. If you don't have a Zoom account, you can go get a free Zoom account. And
Sure.
yes, it's only 40 minutes, but that's all you need
Right.
because what you can do is you can log on to Zoom and you can record yourself doing an interview, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can start to listen to yourself and you can decide, see like, oh wow, I really rambled in that, or like start making your responses
Sure.
concise and clear.
Sure.
And I know that nobody likes to watch themselves, but no one else has to see it but you. And it's a great way for you to get prepared, especially now with doing a lot of online interviews.
No,
You can
that's what we're
see,
all doing now. That's
yeah,
that's what's happening right now. It's the face-to-face interview. You have the phone interview, right, with the recruiter, And then you have a series of face-to-face interviews that's either one person on the other line, that's the hiring manager, or a panel of executives and the hiring manager on the other line. And it's all through something like Zoom. In fact, a lot of companies are having you record yourself and submit your interview.
Right.
So what you're saying is critical. Take the time, and not just for new people that are looking to switch careers, but even people that have been displaced or want to level up their careers. No one is too good to practice. Everyone should be practicing. So yes, take the time to record yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So, and along those lines, I always like to. This is how I'm always weaving, right? Careers and diversity, how they go together. And so, the part about that when I think about diversity is, again, going back to the company, is understanding that when you are doing that panel interview and you have someone who is a great candidate, focus on the candidate, right? Don't focus on their background. Don't make judgments about the fact that they might be doing it in their bedroom and you can see their bed in the background, or that their cat walks by, right? I mean, we've got to realize we're still apparently in times of COVID, and many of these interviews are being done um, through video, not because the candidate wants to, but because they have to, and they have no choice. And so they might not have the best environment.
Right.
But if it isn't vital to the job that they're going to do, right? If they're not going to be client facing, then don't use that as another way to exclude someone from the candidate pool. Right? We've got to start looking at candidates and looking at ways to include instead of constantly looking for ways to exclude.
Sure.
And I think when we are working as recruiters and as sourcing and even in hiring managers, we're constantly looking at how can we exclude some of these people out and make our job easier, right?
Sure.
You want your job to be hard. Don't you want to pick between 10 fabulous candidates instead of 2 just okay people?
This is true. This is true.
So I think that is probably my tip for today is, can we please, as people are trying to get into different types of roles, let's not exclude them that just because they didn't have, sales leader on their resume, but they've spent 10 years conducting sales of different types, but just because they don't have the exact type of experience that you're looking for or the exact title you need, don't exclude them. Right? Let's look at their skills. Let's look at their experience, and let's start including instead of excluding.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, any final points from you, Sam?
You know what? For those of you listening, if you are interested in medical sales industry, I think it's a great industry to consider. It's something that even in this kind of environment, you can find a good company, have a solid position, and really grow within it. So please feel free to reach out if you want to get into medical sales. As far as tips, everyone, please take the time to utilize the opportunity now with social media. This is where everyone is. Take the time to understand how it works and really get yourself out there and be cognizant of your personal brand.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here today. And I've got a LinkedIn user who says, they feel like I've been speaking half the time today. They're probably right. Sometimes I get on a roll and I take over a little bit.
It's all good.
So thank you so much. I have got Samuel's website up on the page here. So drop in and send him a message, connect with him on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't as yet, and we'll see you next week.
All right.